back to another episode of Drop the Mitts Hockey Podcast, brought to you in partnership with Primetime Productions. This is episode 21. I am with my co-host, Tommy Bennett, and we are welcomed by newly Drop the Mitts member, Zack Williams. He takes care of all of our TikTok stuff and our Twitter stuff. So, Zack, how you doing, buddy? Happy to have you.
I'm good. Happy to be here. How are you?
Man, I'm doing good. Like I said, man, we're happy to have you. You're a huge part of this team now, so happy to finally get you on. And Tommy, how are you, man?
I'm doing good, man. It's a Wednesday, just enjoying some hockey, just kind of figuring out what the Red Sox are going to do. And baseball free agency is really, really slow, where NHL happens like that day. So
good luck trying to figure out what the Red Sox are doing, dude.
They just get a pitcher. I don't care what you do, just get a pitcher. That's it. Get a couple of them. That's all I need. I
was listening to Felger and Maz this afternoon. A big mistake on that part. And
I don't listen to them when it comes to baseball talk. If I go to baseball talk,
what about their hockey stuff? They had some pretty good. They had some pretty good hockey takes, like last week. I think it was right.
I'm sure it was a blast. I'm sure it was a doozy. I'm sure it was a doozy.
Yeah,
it always is with those two.
We got a lot to get to. It's only been a week, but like a shit ton has happened. And I think it's probably appropriate that we start off with the Edmonton Oilers.
God,
firing Jay Woodcroft and replacing him with Knoblauch. Dude, this move, I have no idea what the fuck this team's doing. I can understand why they had to fire him, right? But
yeah, in a sense, like I think a lot rides on the season. Like this is a very important season for the Edmonton Oilers. Like they have no money. The goaltending is poor. They already sent down Campbell. Draisaitl has 1 year left after this year, and McDavid has 2. So at this point, you're going in on all like win now mode. I don't know if firing the coach is gonna get it done, but you got to start somewhere. I think Knoblauch is a pretty good addition. He was really good at Hartford. The guys in Hartford had really good things to say about him. I think he was actually in the running for the Rangers position, and then they obviously chose Laviolette, but he also did coach Connor McDavid in juniors with the Erie Otters. And, I don't know if anybody knows this, but I think the president is also McDavid's agent or has some kind of ties to McDavid. And Ken Holland is in his last year. So I don't know if it's about keeping Ken happy or what.
It can't when it comes to the coach of the Edmonton Oilers, that's not the problem. I believe Ken Holland's the problem. He's got to go. He is absolutely terrible and is terrible for this organization. Yes, firing Woodcroft, well, it could be the right move, but it's, the Edmonton Oilers on paper are they're a good team, but Skinner's been subpar. Campbell was absolutely awful and continues to be awful in the AHL. And McDavid isn't performing like McDavid does. He has been, for him, subpar this season. They obviously fired Woodcroft, and something's got to give, and that's obviously where they started.
I think another weird thing is that, like, almost immediately after they announced that they were bringing in Paul Coffey as well.
Yeah,
who has zero coaching experience, none. Hall of Famer, one of the best defensemen to ever live, but no coaching experience.
Yeah, but look at some of the guys that have come in that had no coaching experience. Like, look at Martin St. Louis. Like, he deserves a golden ticket for what he's done.
He turned that Canadiens team around.
Like, dude, Caulfield was literally you could almost say he was a bust under Ducharme. And then Martin St. Louis comes in, and now Caulfield is just a bona fide sniper. Yeah. So it's like I think the idea of having fresh blood is a good thing. Guys that maybe just don't have experience but can come in and, why not give them a shot? We're seeing this recycled coach thing over and over, and it's just not working.
Did you get a chance to watch any of that press conference when they announced that Knoblauch was being announced as the coach? The fact, dude, they had like contradicting stories, which was the most fucking bizarre thing to me. I believe it was the CEO of hockey operations who started off talking. or the owner or whatever starts talking by saying like, "Yep, I talked to McDavid. I talked to all the leaders of the team. They were informed that this was going to happen." Then all of a sudden it switches over to Ken Holland, and he said, "No, they had nothing to do with this decision. They weren't informed before we made this decision. This was so." It just seems like there's a real disconnect. And like Zach just said, it seems like a Ken Holland thing, to be honest. Like I don't know if the message got lost. The way that Connor McDavid explained it, the message never got lost between the players and the coach. Which then
he never lost the room, which is great.
Which then leads me to believe this might be a GM thing, because again, how are we in 2023 and we're still talking about the Edmonton Oilers not having a goaltender? How long has this been a fucking problem for this team? It makes no sense how they haven't done anything. And no, fucking Skinner is not the answer. Jack Campbell was not the answer. Jack Campbell had one good season and then got paid.
I wouldn't even say he had a good season. He had a decent playoff.
He had a decent playoff and then got paid.
He had a decent playoff, and then they figured they like had to make a move, so then they just did. Skinner, I think, just kind of emerged on the scene, but it's a lot of pressure to put on a young kid, especially in that market, to be like, hey, like you're the answer. Like here's the keys to the crease.
I think we talked about it last week too, is a lot of these defensemen that they have, although I do really like Ekholm and I really like Evan Bouchard, the fact that you're paying Darnell Nurse, Charlie McAvoy money is absurd.
Dude's a traffic cone.
You've locked yourself into these absurd contracts, which let's call it for what it is. It's an absurd contract. $9.5 million a year for what Darnell Nurse provides is outrageous. Evander Kane is another one to me. Makes no sense to me.
And a lot of them have no move clauses, so it's like getting out from under these is really difficult. And in order for them to actually make a serious, substantial move, they have to send out money. But who actually is going to waive if they have like a no move clause to go there? Like, if you're in a good situation, like why would you want to, or you feel like you're in a good situation, why would you want to go there? The only thing you can sit there and say is, all right, this team like is committed to winning for the next year or two.
Yeah, you got to look at the
Draisaitl are there.
You got to look at the Oilers cap situation too. They have little to none. So it makes it even harder for them to move any of these guys and bring in new talent because they just have no money to do so. They'll be trade for a high quality goaltender and you're over the cap. It's just could they do something and put a guy on LTIR and pull a Tampa Bay Lightning? The whole situation over in Edmonton is just abysmal.
Yeah, one of their big selling points too is, well, you get to come and play with Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid. Well, hey, there's a pretty good fucking chance that neither of these guys are on this team in 3 years. With how disgruntled they have been acting and how I know it's just interactions with the media, but man, they seem pissed off. And again, if this message has gotten lost between the GM and the players, not necessarily the coach and the players, but the GM and the players, I think after this year, if they continue to fucking sink, Ken Holland has to go. If they want,
he's in his last year, so they're probably not going to bring him back. Like
if they
this is probably the final year of Holland.
If they want,
I think Ken Holland has to go now.
I agree. Like I think if if you're really to make moves at the deadline and you like want to give somebody to kind of like revamp this, I'm with Zach. You got to give it to somebody who's probably capable of doing it because Holland hasn't shown he can do it. I'm looking at their numbers right now. Their depth is not producing at all. It's bad, like really bad. Like after Nugent Hopkins with 10 points, like Fogle has 6, Nurse has 5. Then you go to the forwards, and Gagne has 3, McLeod has 2, Desharnais and Hathaway and Ryan have 1, and then the rest of the lineup has 0. That's a huge problem when only 5 guys are basically carrying your load, and one of them's a defenseman, and that's Bouchard. That's you're not going to get that done.
So you
can't rely on 3 guys to carry you.
To go back to your original point, I think there's almost a 0% chance that they fire Ken Holland mid-season. I don't see it happening. Mid-season, there's no way. I don't see teams firing general managers. Head coaches, fine. GMs, though, it's a little more difficult to kind of – because you got to think, they're going to wait till everyone's available, right? I mean, you're very limited on what you can bring in. You're going to bring in someone for half a season to be the general manager, or you're going to wait till the end of the year.
Well, whoever they just brought in as president, just have them kind of run the show as the interim. Like, something's got to give at some point. If the ship keeps sinking, at what point is enough for McDavid and Draisaitl? Like, you know, I know people were like, oh, like, you know, they don't want to talk about the Boston Bruins goaltending situation. Fine. Like, obviously right now the time is not to deal either of those guys. You know, figure that out in the summer. But people are already talking about, you know, like the future of McDavid and Draisaitl in Edmonton. Like, that's not a blasphemy conversation to have.
I think the thing with Holland is that if the Oilers are going to get anything done at the deadline, and if they have any chance at turning this season around, they need a competent GM that can figure out what's going on within this organization that's causing this turmoil. Because Edmonton came into this season as a Stanley Cup contender. They come into every season for the last 3 years as a Stanley Cup contender. And to see them do this is not good and not a good look for Holland. And like I said, if they're going to turn this around, I think Holland's got to go.
So are you firing Ken Holland if they're clearly out of the playoffs?
Yeah, 100%.
100%. Yeah.
You can't.
If they're a borderline bubble playoff team, are you still firing him?
If he makes no moves at the deadline and just literally rides out what he has, yeah, you like what gives? Dude?
I agree.
You hire him after the deadline is what you're saying.
If you're not gonna fire him before the deadline and they're a bubble team that has issues and needs to be addressed, and you can't figure out a way to address those needs with competent talent, yeah, there's no point in you being here. You're not like, we're not going to keep you. Like, I'm with Zach. I think you get rid. I think you need to cut bait if things don't improve in the next. I'd say by the holidays.
When was the last time you saw a GM fired midseason besides Ottawa? Because Ottawa, I think that was a forced move.
I can't recall one personally, but like I said, I feel like this is kind of a unique scenario because you got a team with McDavid and Draisaitl that's supposed to contend for a Stanley Cup that is 31st in the league, the worst team in the league in terms of goalies, in terms of goals against average. They're the worst in the league, and it's just, you know, something's got to give. Like I said, if they want to turn this season around, and it has to be Ken Holland.
And they are so vocal about how, like, pissed off they are. Like, when's the last time you've really seen like two superstar players be this irritated at the beginning of the year? Like, there's having ruts and there's having slumps. Like, this isn't a Jack Eichel thing where he's just got kind of like a sad frowny face in Buffalo. Like, this is a team that, like, you know, almost went to the Stanley Cup final like 2 seasons ago.
Yeah.
You know, like there's, and it's like you have two of the best players in the world, like Zach said, on one team.
Yeah, I mean,
they're this bad. Like, I think this is a unique situation, like he said. You know,
they're also not producing on the ice either. So we can
produce. They're producing. They're just not producing at their normal rate. Like, McDavid's still a point per game player,
but that's
Draisaitl's producing. McDavid is not.
McDavid is not.
McDavid's got 12 points. I still think McDavid's hurt. I think he's got something that's laboring him. He's playing through it. He's just not. He might not be 100%, but I think Zach said it best. It's a unique situation. Their contracts are coming up. Like, are they going to want to stay? Like, you know, it's not an outrageous thing to really ask. And I like what Zach said. It's a very unique scenario. It's not like a typical scenario where, like, oh, the team just bottomed out. Like, they're trying to do everything they can, but they have very little to work with. And Holland didn't exactly put them in a place to be successful.
Holland has done everything to please McDavid, bringing in all his people that he wants around. You cannot deny that.
No. That's what I'm saying. Like, he has his coach. He has a coach that he's worked with. The agent, I think, is the president. He probably takes over.
Those are all McDavid guys.
Exactly. So at this point, it's like something's got to give, but the personnel on the ice is not enough.
Right. Well,
their depth is horrible.
We talked
and
about it.
they're not great defensively, and their goaltending is shit.
But again, dude, when you have guys that are making upwards of 12 and a half a year, almost $13 million a year, that's what you're left with. What else are they supposed to do? They made these moves to bring in Darnell Nurse at $9.5 million.
Yeah, I mean that's a GM. That's a GM.
That's a GM president.
That's a GM thing. Like that's not
entire ownership thing. That's not.
And what's crazy is like Draisaitl's contract isn't even that expensive.
No,
Draisaitl has the best contract in the league. Hands down.
He has like the best value in the league. He doesn't even make.
Hughes is pretty good too.
Yeah, but like Draisaitl for what he's done. Like I love Jack Hughes, but for what Draisaitl has done, his contract is a bargain. Like he makes under 9.
Yeah, but his next
it's like the way they manage their cap is why they're in this situation.
Yeah, no,
they handled it as poorly as Toronto did with their core 4, and that's why Toronto stuck with what they got.
Yeah, I mean,
and speaking of Toronto,
yeah,
Patty Kane, baby, here we go.
Yeah,
of all places, he's visiting in Toronto. There's other teams involved. The Rangers are not one of them, but I believe Buffalo's in the mix. They mentioned Dallas,
Florida.
I want to say Florida's still in the mix. And did I say Buffalo?
Yeah, you said Buffalo.
Buffalo, Dallas, Florida, and I'm missing one.
They said there were upwards of 8 teams that were involved, but
I'm sure Detroit is to some capacity.
I'm seeing
Toronto's the big one because he officially has met with them.
I was seeing the front runners as Toronto, Buffalo, Florida were the 3 ones that were like heavily in the mix.
He met with Toronto yesterday, which this is how we'll start this. Which I think is absolutely fucking comical that they're even considering bringing in Patrick Kane. Talk about another fucking disgruntled like I don't even know how to describe them, dude.
It is literally what he said, but it's just like how many like are we allowed to swear on this?
Say whatever you want, dude. Free reign.
How the fuck are you gonna do the same shit over and over again until it just doesn't fucking work? How many fucking skill guys are you going to bring in? You can only outscore your problems on defense and goaltending for so long until it just doesn't work. This team needs a physical shutdown defenseman. Go get Nikita Zadorov. But no, let's bring in Patrick fucking Kane. For what? To plug him next to Tavares and hope to God his hip is in good shape and he just outscores your problems? Dude, the goaltending there is worse this year than it was last year. And last year actually wasn't that bad.
Yeah, I mean,
but it's like
at
what point, does it do you stop doing the same shit? Like you brought in this toughness thing, and clearly that's not fucking working. So now you want to go ahead and bring in Patrick Kane. You need a defenseman, and you signed John Klingberg.
He's horrible.
He's horrible.
He is horrible.
He's worse this year than last year. And I didn't even think that was possible. Anaheim was so bad last year, and he was god awful, and he's somehow worse this year. They have no defensive
I mean, you bring in a guy and then they bring in a guy like Ryan Reeves, who's supposed to be their tough guy per se. Talk about an abysmal hockey player. He is the worst, and I'm a big Ryan Reeves hater. I don't like Ryan Reeves at all. But in terms of his hockey play, absolutely awful. You have him on the 4th line. He produces nothing. And then it's like you guys said, you go out and you look at Patrick Kane when you have one, depth scoring is still a problem for them, but defense is an even bigger problem. In terms of goaltending, Samsonov hasn't been great, but Joseph Wall looks promising.
Yeah,
I agree. He's had a good start to the season. He looks like a promising young goaltender for that team, but defense is definitely the biggest need for Toronto, and they just don't seem to be addressing it. But the Leafs are going to do what the Leafs do.
Their best shutdown guy is like a 40-year-old Mark Giordano. That's not I love Mark Giordano, but that's not exactly ideal. You haven't had that physical shutdown presence since Muzzin got hurt. But why are we going to bring in Patrick Kane? It makes no sense. And with what money?
Also true.
You have to utilize the LTIR, but
they already did. I mean, how many people are you going to shove on there? You already shoved Murray and Muzzin. How many more people are you going to shove on there?
This is the thing with this team, dude. It just seems like it's a revolving, pointing the finger game, right? Well, first it's goaltending, right? Well, we have this big issue at goaltending. They don't fucking address it, right? Do nothing to address it. Well, our toughness. We don't have enough toughness on this team. We can score, we can put the puck in the net. We just don't have enough toughness. They pay all that money to bring in Max Domi, Tyler Bertuzzi, Ryan Reeves. Those three guys do absolutely fucking nothing. Now
Bertuzzi has picked up his play as of late, though.
I
will say that, but he's still been very like.
He's not worth what he got. He's not doing what he's getting paid to do. The amount of money that he's making, dude, not worth it.
The $5 million contract is not looking worth it right now.
No, not for them. No, I mean, I actually really liked that move. I thought it actually was really gonna work, just because of the way he plays, like his style, goes in the corners, digs out pucks. He's great down low. He's not afraid to do the grunt work, and if he's on a line with Matthews and Marner, it gives them a little bit more open ice just to
they've already
the puck away. But it hasn't worked.
They've already
worked. Yeah, it hasn't worked, and it's just weird. I don't know if it's just like a fit thing, he just doesn't fit with the way they play.
The way that Toronto media is explaining and how they're complaining about things is that he doesn't belong there. He doesn't fit their mold of play. Well, it kind of seems like with how they haven't really done anything, who does fit their mold?
They're a finesse team. They're a finesse team. Like I was listening to Chicklets today. They were talking about Nylander, and they were they were just talking about what do you do? Do you trade Marner? And then they were like, oh, LA would work. And it's the way LA plays, I don't think would fit Marner's game either. So the team kind of has to a little bit fit the player, and it worked well in Boston. Bertuzzi, it was born to be a Bruin. It worked. His style of play, it fits the black and gold mold. But it just has not worked in Toronto. It's weird. Max Domi is another one, but I didn't like that signing anyway. I think he had a fluky year. He hasn't really done anything in terms of production since his days in Montreal. He was a playoff hero in 2022 with Carolina in Game 7 against Boston. He hasn't really done anything since. He got paid basically to be a tough guy and go where his dad used to play.
Here's the thing with the Leafs is they come in every year. Is the media but preseason, is this the Leafs year? The Leafs bring in this guy, this guy, this guy. It's every single season. They do that. They bring in the wrong guys that don't end up fitting their style of play. This year, it's Bertuzzi and Domi. They doesn't look like they fit there. And like you said, I do think Bertuzzi is going to be a Bruin, and I think he comes back in the offseason, but that's a conversation for another time. It's every season. It's like clockwork. They just don't know how to win. These guys outside of Marner, Matthews, Nylander, Tavares, they don't know how to play hockey for the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's every single season, and something's got to give there.
Tommy, I wanted to bring this up to you too because I think I forgot to bring it up last time. I forgot who it was. It might have been Jeremy Roenick who was talking about it. It might have been, I can't remember who it was. An interesting point when we were talking about that Bruins-Toronto game, when that shit happened with Tom Liljegren. Or Timothy Liljegren, sorry.
Yeah.
John Tavares should have had that C stripped right from him after that game.
It's just all right, so Zach said it very well, and he was just talking about this toughness. That's the whole point. That situation, you stand up for your team, whether it doesn't matter if it was intentional, unintentional, it does not matter. The point is your buddy went down. That's what happened.
But then you allow Marchand to stand at your bench and fucking bark at every single one of your players, and they're all fucking mute.
And it's and that's like Reeves. Reeves waited till after the game to say the shit he said. First of all, you have no points, and you're a -11, and you're just a plug. That's what you are. You're a plug. You plug on the fourth line, and you play under 10 minutes a game. For how vocal that guy is in Reeves, dude, why didn't you do this at intermission?
He had
you had a whole rest of the game to figure this out.
He had ample opportunity to go out there and fucking do something. It didn't even have to be to Marchand. He could have went out and he could have addressed it in different ways, right? Hit one of our stars. Hit one of our. there's different ways that
you know for sure if like Tyler Bertuzzi was barking at the Boston bench and like Lucic was playing, he'd rip somebody's head off the next shift he's out there. It doesn't matter who it is. It's just exactly what Zach said. Like these guys just don't know how to win. They don't. You brought in this toughness and no one knows how to play tough. It's like you just added it to the lineup, and for what?
With how underachieving this team has been, and then especially after this whole event took place, I'm absolutely all for ripping the C off Tavares' chest. He doesn't deserve it. They're not. They're an underachieving team. They're not for each other. They don't fucking back each other up. They're fucking. I'd rip the C right off his chest. I'd have no problem doing it.
Do you think
you look at the different captains around the league? You got like Marchand would, if roles were reversed and Liljegren did that to say Pasternak, for example, just plug him in there, Marchand would have ripped his head off.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's just like
look around the league. Jamie Benn, for example, same fucking thing, dude. He'd have done the same goddamn thing. We just played Buffalo last night. Even Kyle Okposo, dude. Really? He'd have done the same shit.
You know what? And you know what? The Sabres thing. It's like, you know what? It's like Dahlin had that hit on Marchand, and then Pasternak's in the ring. Dude, Pasternak's in the ring. Like, come on.
I think Pasternak has one career fight.
Exactly. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's just like,
but
you don't have to be a tough guy to, like, send a message like that.
That's what's alarming to me, dude, is no one did anything.
They didn't do anything all game. All they did was talk about it afterwards. I don't give a shit what you have to say after the game. You had the whole game to do something about it. No one gives a shit about you talking about what you should have done when the third period ended and the game's over. No one cares.
So I think it was Biz on last week's Chicklets, and he was talking about one of his former coaches on one of his teams.
He played the clip.
He's like, can you imagine walking into the locker room, dude? The whole team's fucking sitting there looking at each other. The clip plays, the coach goes up, replays it, plays it again for everyone, and then leaves the room and figure it out. Like, again, everyone would have been fucking looking at each other being like, what are we doing here?
And like
that's a lot of money for fucking tough guys.
And you know, and like to Zach's point, it's like these guys just don't know how to like win. And it's like, they have a fun core group. Like I love watching Toronto play. Like they're a fun team to watch. Like they have a lot of skill and it's a fun group. And you know, fans might want to see them break through, but the band might not be together, especially the way William Nylander's playing.
Well, and at that point, it raises the question, like, if you know you're going to lose a guy, because again, yeah, are you like Edmonton and sign another fucking dude to 12 plus mil, between 10 and 12?
So that's my question. What do you do? Because Marner's no move clause just kicked in. I know Matthews has trade protection. Tavares' contract was abysmal the minute it got signed, and he's got trade protection. Nylander, the way he's playing, is probably going to make anywhere between, I'd say, 9 and 10.5. And he's their best player right now. And they don't have the money for him, but you're not trading him either because you're trying to win now. And obviously, if you trade him, that doesn't help you win. I'm very curious to see what that says. He's been absolutely nails. He's had a point in every game so far. 15 straight games with a point. I think that's the most. I don't know if that's the most in their franchise history. But he literally is 7th in goals. He leads the league in shots on goal, and his next contract is going to be absolute bananas.
Yeah, I mean, they're tied right now with Detroit in the Atlantic, both 8-5-2. I don't know. Like, again, yeah, do you sign this? Do you, again, extend this guy? And now you're as top-heavy as fucking Edmonton. But then who
do you move? You'd have to. You can't pay 4 guys. No, it'd be 5 guys because of Morgan Riley's contract. You're paying 5 guys almost half your cap.
But
probably more than that.
That's exactly
more than your cap. So you'd have no room left. You'd either have
same issue in Edmonton.
Yeah, you'd have to like convince a guy like Marner to waive, or you'd have to convince Tavares to leave. And no one's taking Tavares' deal. No freaking way.
Your best bet is moving Nylander before and hopefully getting it would have to be a sign and trade type thing, right? Where there's an extension in place for the other.
You think that's a summer deal?
I think it could be a deadline deal.
It has to be a deadline deal if the Leafs want any chance
At getting the return.
Because there's no way, no chance in hell that Nylander signs with the Leafs in the offseason. There's no way. So if they want to get anything out of this, anything out of Nylander leaving, they have to do it at the deadline. And there has to be a stud defenseman involved because that's what they need. But knowing Toronto, they're just going to end up trading for another forward and just going to be as top heavy as they were before.
Do you think gosh, lost my train of thought. It'll come back to me. Give me a second.
Yeah, no,
I lost my train of thought. I'm trying to think of how I was going to word it. Okay, I got it. Do you actually think that they believe that they can really win now and they don't trade him and then they just kind of hope for the best? Kind of like what Calgary did. They just kind of okay, we like our team. Johnny Gaudreau just kind of skated to free agency. Do you think it's similar like that, Zach, with Nylander?
I don't think so because I don't think that there's any way that the Leafs win now with the abysmal defense outside of Morgan Rielly, who, let's be real, isn't that great of a defender. Yes, he's good, but could be better for what he's supposed to be and the amount of money he's getting paid. But there's no way that team can win a Stanley Cup in its current state. And so if I'm the GM of the Toronto Maple Leafs, you have to move Nylander at the deadline. It is a necessity. And if you don't, whoever the GM is got to go because you can't just let a guy
him in.
Did they? Yeah. Did they? Well, it would be a real abysmal start to his career. It would be a real abysmal start to his career if you take Nylander on the year that he's having and don't get the most you can for him after the year he's having and just let him walk in free agency and get absolutely nothing out of it. You should not bring the GM back if that ends up happening.
If there's a team I'm actually looking at to really go get him, I mean, this is just purely shooting the shit with my boys. Carolina, they have a surplus of defensemen. They have a ass ton of cap space, and they're gonna need wingers next year. I think Nylander would be a really nice fit alongside a Kotkaniemi or a Sebastian Aho, and you could take a stud defenseman and Brett Pesce.
Even take a guy like Dmitry Orlov. I think Orlov would be a great fit for Toronto.
In the transition game, yeah, I can see it. Yeah,
but I mean, you look at Pesce or Orlov in that situation, and it's just that one of those guys instantly makes the Leafs defensive core. It just takes them from bad to honestly pretty good. They really need just that one stud defenseman, and Orlov in the right situation is a stud defenseman. It's not in Carolina. He has been subpar there.
Well, he's been playing with Tony DeAngelo. That'll do that too.
That's probably why.
That's a large reason why, because he's good defensively, but he's not elite enough to cover for his defensive miscues.
To go back to the original point, the easiest thing to do right now is to go deal for a guy like Zadorov. To start, that's a start, a minimum.
Man, we got on a Leafs tangent. Where do you guys actually think Kane ends up?
I'm gonna say Buffalo, dude. I'm gonna say Buffalo.
I got a feeling
somehow.
I think he ends up in Detroit somehow.
I think with Tage Thompson being out, and depending on how long he's out, how severe that wrist injury is, Kane could be right there, and putting him in Buffalo, I think would be probably their best move if they want. And obviously Kane's not elite as he used to be, but putting someone in there in place of Thompson, for now, would be in their best interest because he is a bona fide stud.
Bringing up teams like Detroit and Buffalo, they're teams with young studs that are coming up the ranks, where a guy like Kane would be a really good mentor / person to kind of help them along the way, right? You look at guys like Zach Benson on Buffalo, Krebs, all these young guys that they have, and then you go on, Detroit side, Lucas Raymond, Casper, all these young guys that they have. what better guy to bring in than Patrick Kane? Like I think those two would be good fits. I just can't for the life of me understand or rationalize him being a Toronto Maple Leaf. It wouldn't make sense to me, and I just can't see them actually pulling the trigger on it.
Yeah,
I
agree.
I can't, and I don't know what their rationale for doing it was, even having the meeting. I don't know. I have no idea. It makes no sense to me. No, and to mention, how are they going to do it?
they have no money. They have like $1 million in cap space at like the most.
Right.
You'd have to like, you unless he takes like some weird deal and you pay him in like bonus money or something.
He ain't taking $1 million, dude. There ain't no way he's taking.
I'm not saying he would. I'm just saying that's the only way that works.
I would be thoroughly shocked if he doesn't end up in Buffalo. I think that is his best interest and Buffalo's best interest, because to Kris's point, like you got Krebs, Benson, Savoy, and there would be no better mentor than Patrick Kane. He's one of the most elite scorers of all time. So
speaking of Buffalo, Thompson, that's a blow.
Did you guys see that? Whose friggin' tweet was that talking about Charlie McAvoy with players?
That's so stupid.
Did you see that shit? It's like
I'm not even trying to sound like a biased Bruins fan, but like, and I didn't defend the Ekman-Larsson hit because that was just a bad play. Like he knows he messed up.
Yeah.
That was a bad uncalled for hit. But that was not like an on purpose like tripping incident. Like that was like he was going to make a play on the puck. Thompson cut in and the skate went up and he tripped. He came back, so that wasn't the play that hurt him. It was the block shot from McAvoy while they were on the penalty kill.
Yeah.
That tweet was so bogus, dude.
Yeah, I didn't know if you had saw it. I was like, are you fucking
so bogus? I was like, what are we doing here? Like, shut up. Like what are we doing here? Like go cry about your goaltending and your piss poor defense. That's what you can cry about.
It's unfortunate at this point they're 7-8-1. They're not out of it by any means. Like,
yeah, but if you dig a deep enough hole, you are.
Yeah, a lot of hockey left, but depending on how much time he's gonna miss, like
he's out a while.
Yeah,
I think you said like, what is it, long term?
That's what I don't think they gave like a time frame.
They're already down Tuck and Benson, but they might be back this weekend. But losing Thompson's a low blow. Like that's your number one center. He plays in all situations. And this is a Buffalo team. Like I'm not gonna poop on the Sabres, but like they suck defensively. They're horrible. Like
how they suck at defense makes no sense to me.
They have no structure. They play with no structure. They're so relaxed in their defensive coverage, and they don't have goaltending. If it wasn't for UPL, they literally would have way more losses than they do. He hasn't even been that good.
To blame this on Levi, though, that's outrageous.
I'm not blaming Levi, but the goaltending hasn't been good.
I think it's more of a defensive thing. I don't think
it's both.
Yeah,
you take a look at Linus Ullmark, for example. Look at his stats when he was in Buffalo. He was good, yes, but he
wasn't like
not even close to what he did last year with the Bruins. You put him, and this is any goalie. You put any goalie in front of a good defense, and they're automatically going to be 10 times better. And I think that's part of the Sabres' problem is like UPL could be a great goalie. It could be, I wouldn't say great, but a very good NHL starter if you put the right defense for him. The same with Levi. I mean, Levi got lit up by the Bruins last night. But
and what's crazy is last night he let in 5 goals and he only finished with a goal saved above expected of like negative 1.55. So I'm like, okay, the chances that Buffalo was giving up may not have been like the most quality, but it's like that's still not very good. Like you got to make a save at some point, and all those goals Boston scored were just like the Pasternak goal. Like Charlie McAvoy floated that saucer pass like 3 feet in front of a Sabres defenseman, and then Zacka like all the way from the far boards. It's like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, get a stick in the way.
Yeah,
like,
they're not
that relaxed in coverage.
Yeah, they're not. And I thought bringing in Connor Clifton would have kind of addressed that, but even he did not look great last night.
Clifton got overpaid from a historic year from the Bruins. That's what happened. And that's why I'm kind of glad that Jake DeBrusk didn't have to have a contract extension signed after last year.
Well,
that would have been really astronomical because he tied his career high in goals. Like that's like the conversation about Pavel Zacha. I was kind of like, okay, like I like what Zacha did. I want to see what he can do when the Bruins aren't off to this historic run because everybody had a good year. Everybody did. Mm-hmm. Like I wanted to see if Jeremy Swayman can replicate it. Like can Linus Ullmark do it again? And they are. It's like Pavel Zacha. He's doing it again. He's got like 10 points in 11 games.
It's Jake DeBrusk.
Jake DeBrusk, it's not for a lack of trying, but he can't bury a goal.
You know what it is? You know what it's a lack of? Not playing with a Hall of Famer.
He can't drive his own line.
It's a lack of not playing with a Hall of Famer.
He can't drive his own line. He can't. And it's not up to a guy like Matthew Patra to drive his own line. He's a rookie. He's playing like a rookie, but he plays hard every game. That line got a goal. I don't think DeBrusk factored into it. But from an individual standpoint, like DeBrusk is getting his looks. He is generating his chances. He just can't bury one. But he can't drive his own line. He needs somebody to do it for him. And he's not playing the same way he used to. He's not going to the low areas like he used to and really digging out the pucks. Like it's just I think once he buries one, maybe more will come, but he can't drive his own line.
It's an inopportune time. It's an inopportune time for him to be in a slump like this, I think.
It's great for Don Sweeney's pocket.
Right.
That's the case. And I'm not saying like he's not worth a contract extension, but it's like you're not producing. And and Connor Ryan had a great article about it. Like if anyone has a chance to read it, please go do so. Like Connor Ryan's one of the best that covers.
We'll share in our episode thing. It's a really good article.
Yeah, it's not for a lack of effort. It's not for a lack of trying. It's not for a lack of he's not getting his looks and chances. He's just not burying them.
Yep.
And I think a lot of it has to do with he can't drive his own line. And I'm not sure where you put him or put him with. But yeah. I don't think you put him with like Zacha and Pastrnak.
I mean, could you look at a combination of say Marchand, Zacha, or Marchand, Patra, DeBrusk, Marchand, Coyle, DeBrusk? I mean, I think putting Jake DeBrusk on a line with Brad Marchand is really the only way that you can start he can really start generating his scoring chances. Be it Brad Marchand, like Tommy said, Jake DeBrusk can't drive his own line. Who can? Brad Marchand can.
Yeah.
And let's say you take Marchand, Patra, and DeBrusk. You got a first line of, and I know having Charlie Coyle as your 1C isn't exactly ideal, but Coyle, Zacha, and Pastrnak. But I think that is potentially the only way to really get DeBrusk going is, like Kris said, let's put him on a line with a Hall of Famer because that's what Brad Marchand is.
I agree. I would do that, and I'd say maybe even like just figure out who you want to put with Zacha and Pastrnak. I think the Charlie Coyle line of Frederick and JVR needs to stay together. I wouldn't break that up, but for the time being, I mean, you could put Danton Heinen with Zacha. Like
Danton Heinen's been awesome.
Yeah, like I don't hate the guy. Like I always liked him. I thought the Nick Ritchie trade was stupid. Like it made no sense to me. But I would just go ahead and put Heinen with Zacha and Pastrnak. Like let the DeBrusk cook with Marchand and just kind of hope for the best. You said it best. That's who he should play with. I mean, it's not a knock on, the other winger, but something's got to give somewhere. He's got to get his bounces.
I think it should they really need to take a hard look at what they're going to offer Jake DeBrusk. Because let's call it for what it is. Brad Marchand's days in a Bruins uniform are numbered. I mean, the time is going to come sooner rather than later where he's not going to be a Bruin. And I think they really, really should, take a hard look at what they're going to offer this guy for what he's done. Not playing with a guy like Patrice Bergeron, not playing with a guy like Brad Marchand. And I don't know, man. Like, for me, like my cap would be like $5 million. Like anything over $5 million for this guy a year, I think is too much.
If DeBrusque keeps up what he's doing now, I think $5 million even is pushing it.
What's he making now? What does he make now? Isn't it like 4?
Yeah, it's like 4. It's a little bit north of 4, I believe. Let me pull it up.
And it's like with the cap jumping up, it's like his agent's probably like, well, the cap's going up, so like if you give him 5.5, it's not that bad. But like,
I mean, but it is though.
But you can't justify paying a winger 5.5 to have 1 goal and like 4 assists.
It says 2.5. Is that for his extension that he signed?
That's it. That's all he makes.
Yeah, because he signed that. Remember, he signed that extension.
It was like a bridge deal, wasn't it?
Yeah. Oh, 4 years for the 23-24 cap it of $4 million.
Okay, so it was 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you guys. I think 5 is like the most I'd go. I mean, he's never scored 30. He's come close. He's scored 27 as his career high. I mean, he's responsible defensively, and he plays a good game in the high danger areas. But it's like you're kind of, if you're gonna pay him, like you're tasking him to be like the next guy.
Yeah,
I'm looking to be counted on to score goals. Like that's what you're.
14 games, 1 goal, 4 assists.
And I think like 3 of them are primary.
I don't know, man.
His expected goals is way down. His shooting percentage is like below 4%, which is well below his career high of like 12%. So it's like, yeah, he's getting his chances, but at the end of the day, like that's not enough, like to justify a major contract. Like, okay, cool, you're generating, but like,
yeah, not for a long extension, especially a dude that's going to be 28 next year. You know what?
Yeah, I mean, and you're and like you said, Marchand's going to be, eventually not a Bruin anymore. So at some point, like, you're the guy. You're tasked with being the guy to be counted on to score goals behind David Pastrnak.
Yeah,
and personally, I love Jake DeBrusque. I do. He's been great thus far, like in his career with the Bruins. Mm-hmm. I don't think he's the guy behind Pastrnak. I don't think he can. I don't think he can be the guy. And the Bruins desperately need more, like another top 6 guy. They need another top 6 scorer. And I just don't think Jake DeBrusque can be a part of that solution when Brad Marchand leaves the Bruins. And like Kris said, his days are numbered. It's next 2-3 years. I'd see Marchand retiring, but Jake DeBrusque is not the answer behind Pastrnak. He cannot be our number 2 scorer, and he definitely should not be.
And this is a very loaded free agency class. So it's like if Don Sweeney really wants to, really kind of pounce on the opportunity to land a premier scorer, he has the chance to do that.
Right.
So we'll see come summertime. I don't really envision Jake DeBrusque going anywhere, but
yeah,
hopefully we can see him bury some.
Yeah, I want to stay on the topic of the Bruins too. And one thing I wanted to talk with you guys is obviously we saw today that Grizz is going to be coming back sooner than we expected. Possibly this weekend. Who knows? Like we'll see, when the time comes. But it kind of brings up the conversation. Has Mason Lohrei done enough to stay with this Bruins team? I mean, so far in 6 games with the Bruins, 1 goal, 1 assist. I like his game offensively, but I can't see a scenario where Matt Grzelcyk and Derek Forbort aren't in the lineup. And I think Mason Lohrei goes down.
I agree. I also think Mason Lohrei goes down. He needs more time to develop. He is just not – he's good, and I think that he will be a very good very good player for the Bruins with McAvoy and Lindholm. But he needs more time to develop defensively because he doesn't have it yet. He needs I mean, Charlie McAvoy will make a great mentor for him. Hampus Lindholm will make a great mentor for him. But it's his time with the Bruins for at least this season, unless someone else gets hurt, I think is over. And I think he needs a year in Providence to, kind of figure out his defensive game.
I couldn't be more excited about this top four, man, for the future. In Hampus Lindholm, Charlie McAvoy, Mason Lohrei, Brandon Carlo. I mean, he showed real promise. I just I can't see a scenario where Matt Grzelcyk isn't playing. Now, listen, if the first time that there's any injury, he's going to be the first call up. So I don't think this is the end of Mason Lohrei this season. I mean, listen, there's injuries happen all the time, especially we've seen that with this Bruins defense. And I don't think this is the end of him. I think we're going to see him back up. Matt Grzelcyk hasn't been able to stay healthy. Derek Forbort hasn't been able to stay healthy. And I think although he's played very well, he's been a sound defenseman for them, making very few mistakes. I don't see a scenario where Forbort or Grizz are getting benched over him, unfortunately.
I mean, he's made good plays. He's made good plays offensively. Like he's good jumping in the rush. He's made really good plays. Like just finding the open man, just excelling in transition. But you could tell he definitely needs some seasoning in Providence to work on his defensive game. I mean, he's gotten caved in heavily. Like his numbers are rough. He's got the lowest Corsi for. He's allowed the most attempts. He's getting heavily outshot when he's on the ice in his own zone. It's not a bad thing. He's a rookie. It's supposed to happen. But having some extra seasoning in Providence isn't going to hurt him at all. And like you said, God, you date back to like 2014. Like the Bruins defense, just injuries are going to happen. It's just like inevitable. And he will be the first guy called up because he's good enough and he's shown enough to everybody that he does belong. But he could definitely use some more development.
Yeah,
it's not going to hurt.
Yeah, I'm really excited, and I don't know if you guys got an opportunity to watch the like behind the B any of those clips, but a lot they zeroed in on Brandon Carlo, especially during that Toronto game. That Mason Lohrei was paired with Brandon Carlo, and Brandon Carlo offered a significant amount of mentorship during that game. Just pointers, just encouraging him, and that's something I really want to see. Like that was a phenomenal pair, and that's a pair that I can see being together going forward. Allowing for one, Brandon Carlo being a stay-at-home defenseman and just being as consistent as he is. He's been probably the most consistent Bruins defenseman this year, I'd say.
Yeah, not 100%.
I think he's been probably their best defenseman this year.
He's not talked about enough. He doesn't get the credit he deserves.
The fan base took all the Tuukka Rask hate and moved it to Brandon Carlo for some ungodly, forsaken reason, and I don't understand it.
You're not going to see his name on the score sheet. You're not going to see his name on the score sheet. Every once in a blue moon, you'll see it. Right?
He's not supposed to. That's not his job. He can, and he said he wants to work on that, but he's a shutdown defenseman. That's what he does, and he excels at it. And he's that type of guy that can pick up on a miscue from a rookie because he's that good. You put Hampus Lindholm with Charlie McAvoy, and that's another good pair. Because you know what? I don't know what happens with Matt Grzelcyk when the season ends.
Right.
I don't think Matt Grzelcyk is a Bruin after the season.
I agree, and I think the emergence of Mason Lohrei, and I think it just comes down to you keep a guy like Brandon Carlo over Matt Grzelcyk.
Oh, 100%.
And the emergence of Lohrei raises the question: could we see Grzelcyk dealt at the deadline potentially in a package for some depth scoring for the Bruins? Like, is that do you guys see that as a possibility?
If a team gets desperate enough, I could see it. I think he was coveted last year at the deadline. People might have been interested. You never know. His contract's not that expensive either. So, kind of like a hard cap towards the end of the year. I mean, a team might take a chance that they need defensive depth, and Grzelcyk is really good in his own end.
Barring if he can stay healthy, he's a lot easier, and I think he's going to be a lot more sought after than a guy like Derek Forbort. I mean, let's be honest. He'd be a lot easier to move. Although I don't want to see.
He has more value.
For sure. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm trying to say.
Forbort has value, but Forbort's contract is the problem.
Right.
I don't hate Derek Forbort. I hate his contract. His contract causes problems that cause the Bruins problems to add things that they actually need. Forbort actually, for the most part, has been pretty good this year, but it's unless you get like some Ben Sherratt offer and someone needs a penalty killing defenseman, then sure. But yeah, Grizzlies going to net you the best return possible in that case.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not against moving him. I mean, you just have to be completely certain that you're ready for Lohrei to be an every night defenseman. And it
100%.
seems like, it just seems like right now they're kind of just on the fence about things. And it's like, well, Grizzlick's coming back, so he's going to be the first to go.
Well, they don't have to rush him. That's the best part.
Right.
Like Patra, like it was just like this kid did everything in his power to stay, and he's played really well. Like, he's had a couple of games where it's like, you didn't really notice him out there, but then he bounced back, and the kid's just played awesome. But it's like you don't have to rush Lohrei.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Where Patra just gives the Bruins options, and it's like a godsend to the lineup.
Yeah, dude, he's been awesome, and honestly, I kind of want to bring up another rookie center who, Tommy, you and I were texting about it, man, how unreal he's been. Actually, you're trying to get him on your fantasy team, Connor Bedard. Dude, he has been fucking lighting it up lately, dude. Like
he's a beautiful human being.
Dude.
Like, dude, his shot is like
unreal.
It's like, yeah, it's like the prettiest shot I've ever seen, and he makes it look so simple, but it's like the way he fires the puck off. It's like it doesn't even look like he's shooting it that hard, but it's just like the way he whips it. It's like, dude, he's so good. That goal against Florida, where he pickpocketed whoever that was and went short side, and then the celly, that ice cold celly of just staring down the crowd as he just goes around the net.
My thing with Bedard, he has 7 goals, 2 assists, 9 points in his last 7 games.
Yeah, he's on an absolute heater right now.
Absolute tear. But my one worry for Bedard is his defense. I feel he's small. He's a smaller guy. And I just think that he could end up being somewhat of a defensive liability. Does his offense and his scoring and the way he generates these chances outweigh that problem? Maybe, but I think that he could definitely end up being a defense could definitely end up being a problem for him. And I think that's someone that he could really use as a mentor in that scenario, in the defensive scenario, is Nick Foligno.
Yeah.
I think that I really think that him being on the Blackhawks is really good for Bedard and mentoring him in that aspect, because Bedard definitely needs some defensive help.
Dude, I'm trying to figure out who the fuck he picked. Oh, Kevin Stenlund, because he deserves to have his name out there, because that was gross.
That was disgusting. That whole goal, dude, like that was just like ice cold. Like I can't believe that happened.
I think another factor that people probably aren't seeing, and one thing I'm noticing is I feel like the media has significantly got off his ass.
Thank God.
And I was listening to the Empty Netters boys earlier.
I listened to that too, like right before we got on.
Yeah, they had JR on, Jeremy Roenick, and they asked him the same thing. Like, do you think this has had anything to do with him, having a little more freedom to finally enjoy himself, to go out and play the game he loves without the headache of people on his ass 24/7 every fucking period? He's got to, someone, he can't even take a shit up by himself. Like, again, he's going out there and doing what he does, score goals. Yeah. That's exactly what he's doing. And that Florida goal, dude, I can probably count on one hand how many guys can score that goal at that angle. Especially as a right-handed shot, dude. That's an outrageous angle. He was borderline at the goal line. And again, dude, just to see, like, this Blackhawks team, like, another thing that was really encouraging to me during that game was he got fucking buried by Dmitry Kulikov. Popped right up. Matt Tkachuk was in his face. Listen, when you have Matty Tkachuk in your face trying to fucking get you to go, you're a special player. He wants to get you off your game. That's how Matt Tkachuk plays.
Yep.
The fact that he just was completely unfazed. Nick Foligno goes over and buries Kulikov. Kulikov doesn't want to go with Foligno. That's what I miss, right,
Yeah.
I miss Nick Foligno so much.
I love Nick Foligno. You know what? He got his bag. He deserves it. He deserves every penny he gets. He could absolutely be the captain of that Chicago team. And they're fun to watch, man. Like, again, they have a couple really young players that I think are going to be really good at the NHL level. Korchinski, Oliver Moore is ripping it up at Minnesota right now. He was, the other first round pick behind Bedard. Just again, they're fun to watch. And now that Bedard is finally getting to play his game and score goals and do what he's paid to do, it's only going to be better. I see him being around 30 goals, 70 points ish. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
I don't know about you guys.
I mean, it's just nice he has that pressure taken off of him. I mean, he couldn't even walk outside without the media. And look, I get it. He is the next best thing. I get it. But I think it also people shouldn't forget too, this rookie class is a very special rookie class. There's a lot of very good young players, and Bedard just kind of shot up the charts in terms of rookie rankings. He just went on a heater, but it's good for Bedard. I'm happy he's, had that success. I mean, the media was all over him the first week of the season, and it also comes with just, nationally covered games, but it just happy to see him doing good. I mean, he's really fun to watch. He's got a wicked shot, and it's only the beginning for a special player like him.
Let's not forget he's 18 years old, dude. He's a fucking kid. 18 years old. He handled all of it like an absolute pro, and he's been in the spotlight since he's been about 15 years old. So he's used to this. But again, being in the NHL, and you're at a whole different level now. It's completely different. And now that they've kind of backed off, how many friggin' primetime games was he on?
A lot.
TNT.
I think for the entire year, I think Chicago has 13 nationally televised games, and it's just the Bedard effect. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, and he's the sole reason. I mean, let's call it for what it is. He is the sole reason they're on any sort of primetime. Otherwise,
that team is. Dude, Jared Tenorti is their second pair defenseman. He's an eighth on most teams.
Yeah, I mean, he's been, dude. Just again, Bedard, he's been unbelievable. And I think I made a post earlier this week. It's Fantilli also had a beautiful goal this week, and it's every time you start to forget about one of these rookies that were drafted super high, they come out with a highlight reel.
There's so many though.
I mean, look at the Leo Carlsson hat trick from last week.
Yeah,
that was I mean, I saw some stuff on it that was barely talked about compared to what you see Bedard doing. Leo Carlsson and Adam Fantilli don't get damn near the recognition that Bedard does, and they're both fantastic hockey players.
Even Mitnikov, that defenseman for the Ducks, he's disgustingly good.
Dude, Korchinski too. Korchinski's more of a defensive defenseman, so he's not going to get the
recognition,
love or whatever, because he's not on the score sheet as much. But he's fucking damn good, man. I mean, he's solid for that team. He's going to be a solid defenseman for the next 10 plus years.
You want to know who else is good?
Who?
Alexis Lafreniere.
Yeah, dude, I was literally just about to segue into that. Dude, Johnny's going to love that.
I am so happy for Alexis Lafreniere because that poor guy has been buried on the left wing, on the third line, because of the way the roster is constructed. Because Chris Kreider and Artemi Panarin are ahead of him, and that's just the way it is. Those are veteran guys. Those are important guys. They're not guys that are going to, shoulder the third line burial. But Peter Laviolette, doing the polar opposite of Gerard Gallant, has finally put him on his off wing, and he's playing with Artemi Panarin, and it has been absolutely insane. So I'm going to go on a really long tangent for just a second. Just bear with me. So, as a line, they're absolutely dominating everybody. Their Corsi 4 is a 64.23%. Their Fenwick is a 60%. They're outshooting the opposition. They have 5 goals as a line. They're shattering their expected rate. Literally, the last 4 games for Panarin, Lafreniere, and Trocheck, Panarin has 3 goals and 5 assists. Lafreniere has 3 goals, 4 assists. Trocheck has 3 goals, 4 assists. Lafreniere finally hit 100 points. He's playing with confidence, and it's great that he's playing alongside world-class players. They finally put him in a position to succeed. That is what they've needed to do with him the entire time, and it's just nice that he's developing. He had that disgusting shootout goal against Columbus after he got the game-tying goal with 11 seconds left. Friend of the program, Johnny Lazarus, he got to actually talk to him after the Columbus game, and he just had a fun quote. And he just was like, it's fun coming to the rink every day, trying to work. They have a good group. I don't know, just coming to the rink, having a smile on my face, trying to be better. This is a kid who's just happy to play, and he's getting the opportunity, and that's all you can ask for from the first overall pick in the 2020 draft. Like, he's had a lot of pressure from day one playing in New York in that big, heavy market, but he's finally getting to play with guys like Panarin and Trocheck, and it's just really, really nice for him to actually have the success he's having. Like, I actually couldn't be happier for the guy. I really am. Like, everyone's criticized him from day one because he's not a Connor McDavid or an Austin Matthews, and instead it took a couple of years. But he's finally playing with confidence, and he's happy doing what he's doing. And Artemi Panarin has points in 15 consecutive games and is on an absolute heater right now. The Rangers are hot, but this is all about Alexei Lafreniere. That kid deserves every praise in the world right now.
Yeah, dude, that backhand goal he had in the shootout was
that was disgusting. Like, go wash your hands, you filthy animal, with your little mustache.
Yeah,
like that was disgusting, dude. Like,
I think you did a phenomenal job just kind of outlining everything. Like, again, yeah, the shit that he's gotten, calling him a bust, calling him all this shit. Like, he's on a fucking tear right now. And you know what? He's playing with a guy like Panarin, who probably is the Hart favorite at this point, right? I think we can all agree at this point. Very early in the season, but still. 7 goals, 4 assists, 11 points, plus 3. You know, and this Rangers team as a whole, it goes to show. I love Peter Laviolette as a coach. One thing that kind of is going under the radar too is the play of Erik Gustafsson. Gustafsson, the Rangers kind of took a chance on Erik Gustafsson, right? He's shown flashes where he's had 60-point stints. His last really good season was under Laviolette with the Washington Capitals, right? Now all of a sudden the Rangers, Adam Fox goes down. Erik Gustafsson steps in, and he's now quarterbacking that power play, and he's doing a fucking damn good job of it.
Heck yeah, they got the second best power play in the league.
And he's running it well.
Yeah, no, he was always good at that.
Yeah, and it's a testament of how well this Rangers team is built. Let's not forget Igor Shesterkin is out.
And Jonathan Quick is like vintage Jonathan Quick.
Vintage.
He's unreal. He's got a .928 save percentage, a 1.98 goals against average, a shutout, and he stopped 141 of 152 shots. I think he's like top 10 in goals saved above expected. He's like slightly above Shesterkin, but it's just he's played really well. He had a very shaky preseason.
Yeah, and
it's just they're playing with so much structure. They're not
Cooley.
The same team as they were last year. It is like night and day.
Dude. We brought up last episode the play of Will Cooley. I fucking love this kid's game. Not to be a Debbie Downer, but what does this mean for a guy like Capo Caco, who's still
he's had opportunities. He's been on the top line with Zibanejad and Kreider, and I don't think that worked. And then he swapped, and now he's on the third line, and Blake Wheeler's up there because they're not breaking up the Trocheck line.
No.
And Trocheck was a third-line center to start the year, and then he moved up because Hedl got hurt. And that line's just caught lightning in a bottle. But for Kakko, it's like, what do you make of him at this point? Like,
how do you get a guy like that going?
He's got 2 points in, however many. What was it, 15 games they've played?
14, 15, yeah.
But he's got like 2 points. He's not really generating anything. It's not for a lack of opportunity, and he's playing his strong side where, you see a guy like Lafreniere, he's playing his offside, and look what he's doing. And it's not for a lack of opportunity. He's been put in the same position to have success. You're playing with guys like Kreider and Zibanejad. Those are two world-class players that do a very good job of producing. So, yeah, I don't know what you do with Kakko. He's actually in the last year of his bridge deal.
I think with Alexis Lafreniere, this is a long time coming. And you take a look at Kaapo Kakko, and he has – I don't know the exact number, but he has just about as many points as Jack Hughes has scored in this season.
Yeah.
One season from Jack Hughes is, I think, more points than Kaapo Kakko has in his entire career. I mean, it gets to the point where do the Rangers stop playing him? Like, he's not – like Tommy said, he's producing nothing. And it's, again, not for a lack of opportunity, because the opportunity's there. When you're playing with Zibanejad and Kreider, I mean, it seems like it would be hard to not get opportunities.
Yeah.
Those are two fantastic veteran hockey players that consistently put up points season to season. They do it all, and Kaapo Kakko just continues to disappoint. The second overall pick from 2019 just continues to be absolutely abysmal for the Rangers.
And do you think like a change of scenery would work, or do you think like Kaapo Kakko just like is who he is, and he might just be more of a third line defensive grinder type?
I mean, there's really only one way to find out, and I think that the Rangers end up moving on from him because it obviously doesn't seem like it's working. And there have been scenarios where we see a player go to a new team and just absolutely light it up, or vice versa. Like so take Tyler Bertuzzi for an example. Awesome year in Boston, not great with the Leafs. I really feel like it depends on the situation for a lot of these players, and I think Kaapo Kakko could definitely benefit from a change of scenery.
Listen, in 82 games last year, he finished with 18 goals, 22 assists, 40 points, and was a +12.
That was a career year.
Yeah, well, this season, 14 games, 1 goal, 1 assist, 2 points. And to Zach's point, in 253 career games, 45 goals, 55 assists, 100 points, and is even in his career. He signed a 2-year extension in 2022. So to answer your question about a change of scenery, I think it's the only thing you can do, especially when you have your team running as well as a well-oiled machine right now, and everyone's firing on all cylinders but one guy. It makes it really hard to break things up. And is it even worth breaking up what's working just to get one other guy going? You know what I mean? And yeah, it very well could be. I bring up a guy like Jake Zaboral, right? Who obviously for us, we're big Bruins fans, so that's like the comparable. Obviously didn't go 2 overall, but he was a first-round pick, and he just hasn't gotten it done. He hasn't been able to crack the lineup, and yeah, could a change of scenery benefit a guy like that? Absolutely, and I think the same goes for Kakko. Like, listen, it's not because the Rangers haven't tried to put him in a position to succeed, but this is a very top-heavy Rangers team. Very top-heavy. I mean, they're loaded offensively. And who's he going to play in front of at this point? No one. Nope. You're not going to break up any of these lines now that Lafreniere's going.
He's swapping with Wheeler, who's been just as the same production-wise.
Right.
That's what they've done, because you're not breaking up the Lafreniere line. That line's clicking on all cylinders. You're not breaking that up.
You have Panarin playing at a Hart Trophy level, right?
Trocheck's played fine, and Lafreniere finally is doing what you've wanted him to do for the last 3 years.
Yeah, so to answer your question, yes, I think a change of scenery could absolutely benefit a guy like Kaapo Kakko. And again, yeah, this team is only going to get more dangerous once Adam Fox comes back, once Shesterkin comes back. I mean, should be in the next couple weeks, hopefully.
Shesterkin might come back Saturday.
So again,
that's a pivotal game against the New Jersey Devils.
And now you're talking 2 legit goaltenders. The way Jonathan Quick has played, he is a serviceable backup. He's shown it this season.
Even Louis Domingue got a win.
He did. Yes, he did. And
goaltending's getting it done too.
I mean, when the Rangers skaters are playing the way that they're playing, makes it very hard for these goaltenders not to succeed, and that's with Adam Fox out.
Yeah,
this Rangers team looks scary.
I think the Rangers are either above the Bruins or second in terms of goals against in all situations, and they average the second fewest goals against, like, per game. They're just extremely good, and they're getting it done despite the injuries, where a team like the Devils are not right now.
No,
And like, you can tell a guy like Jack Hughes is missed. They're also without Nico Hischier. Don't know when Hischier's coming back. I don't know if Hughes is making the trip to Pittsburgh. He may meet the team, but he might be ready enough to play on Saturday against the Rangers. But it has been pretty bad in good old Newark, New Jersey, for the Devils. Like, they've just they're getting it done a little bit offensively, but defensively they are a nightmare. Their goaltending is brutal. They rank 27th in goals against. They average 3.86 goals against per game, and their goaltending has a combined -6 goals saved above expected. It's not very good. And I wonder if, even if Hughes is back, what do you do from here? Because you can't trot that out every day. You know, it's kind of like one of those things where, like, Hughes has been so good offensively that it's masked those issues, where now he's gone, and it's very apparent that's been an issue.
The Devils are a really interesting case, because you brought in Vitek Vanacek, who, was supposed to, solve these issues, and he looked really good to start last season and has been bad since. Akira Schmid looked so good in the playoffs, been terrible since. It's just something. It's the same issue. It's almost the same issue as Edmonton. You have such a top-heavy lineup, such forward-heavy lineup, and the defense and goaltending is absolutely abysmal. Something's got to give, because, like, you can't have a guy like Kevin Ball going out there every night who is just absolutely horrible. Every time he steps on the ice, it just seems like something's bad. Like,
and they're
going to give up a goal.
And the biggest problem is guys like Jonas Siegenthaler and John Marino, who were really good last year in terms of shutting down and limiting the opposition to anything, haven't been the same in terms of shut down. The Devils allow a ton of odd man rushes. And if you're going to be that leaky in your defensive coverage, you got to get a save. Like that game against Winnipeg, I think they allowed 6 goals. One was an empty net, but a few of those goals, it's like there were no bodies around, and Winnipeg just had a fun time in the offensive zone. The goaltending's not getting it done. The defense looks abysmal, and you can only outscore these problems for so long. And I think that's the biggest issue in New Jersey. The goaltending was the biggest question mark entering the year, and now it's become just a problem. And if the season has a way of derailing itself, it's going to come in net.
Could the Devils go for a guy like Nikita Zadorov? Like, could that be a possibility for in New Jersey?
I think James Nichols, he said, like, a close source to him was talking about how, like, Zadorov would welcome a trade to New Jersey. I think that would help, just having a physical shutdown guy on the back end, because they don't really have one. Like, that would be a great idea. Like, they added Timo Meier for physicality because they didn't have any. You just have guys bullying Hughes and Hischier up front the whole time. Tyler Toffoli's been a great add, but at the same time, like, it's just defense. And they're just not playing good defensively. And the goaltending has just been even worse.
I think, to Zach's point, bringing up Edmonton, right, as a comparable.
It's a good comparable. Like, the goaltending is just as
at
shitty.
least they're doing the right things in drafting a guy like Simon Nemec, Luke Hughes. Like, but are they – yes, at least they're addressing it.
That was a horrible draft pick.
Simon Nemec?
I will say that confidently.
I think it's way too early to say that.
That was a draft for need. You could have drafted Logan Cooley. That was a draft for need.
You could say the same for Montreal.
Well, that was a stupid pick. You shouldn't have picked Slafkovsky. You had a million picks. You could have picked Shane Wright. You could have picked Logan Cooley.
How would you want Shane Wright, though?
I don't know, but I'm just saying that was like the consensus pick. Instead, you got Slafkovsky. He hasn't been good.
No, but
Nemec was a pick. Nemec was a pick for need. That was what that was. The Devils wanted a defenseman, so they got one.
They needed one.
And they lost a guy like Damon Severson, who was very good for them last year and was a steady presence on the third pair. And now you have Luke Hughes, who was paired with Brendan Smith the whole time, and that pair's been a nightmare. Then you put Luke Hughes with Dougie Hamilton, and that pair was brutal last night.
Yeah, I think it's too early. At least they're addressing. I think it's too early to say that Nemec wasn't the pick. I got to watch him, dude, and he's going to be a good player. Maybe not this year.
No, but I think like you're seeing what Logan Cooley's doing, and it's like, damn,
he doesn't have a choice. He's on the first line. He's getting first line minutes in Arizona.
He could have stayed in college.
Why?
But he chose to go to the NHL. But I'm just saying, like, they could have easily drafted a better player in Logan Cooley.
They could have, but now you're talking 3 centers. You're 3 centers deep.
Hey, the Rangers have it. Look at their depth. Look at LA's depth.
But they have goaltending and defense.
Hey, LA drafted Quentin Byfield as a center. He's playing top line wing and is excelling right now.
Yeah, but they also have defense. And
but they also have but their center depth is literally unmatched. I think they have the best center depth in the league.
Byfield isn't playing center though.
Kopitar, Deneau, and Dubois. That's insane.
I'm saying Byfield isn't playing center if we're talking about those draft
picks.
He's
not now, but he was drafted as a center.
Yeah, he was drafted as a center.
And he didn't excel as a center, so they moved him to the wing, and he's playing great.
Could have done the same with Cooley, I guess. But again, as far as the Devils go, it's similar to the Oilers as far as this team will go as Jack Hughes goes. If Jack Hughes isn't
100%.
They will not go. And
I think that's just been like apparent. It's like he's out, and it's like they're doing enough offensively, but it's like they were scoring like 7 goals a game, and the power play was scorching hot. Now he's gone. It's like, okay, our goaltending really sucked the whole time.
A guy that I'd be interested to see, I think we brought it up last time we were talking about the Ducks and Devils. John Gibson.
Gibson would be fine behind the Devils, but if they're that shitty defensively, like that's not good for him.
I think he gives you a better chance than Schmid and Vanacek at this point. And again, is Anaheim realistically going to compete this year? I mean, listen, they've shown promise.
Gibson asked for a trade. I wonder if they,
I'd be curious. I'd be curious because listen, once Hughes comes back, and if he can stay healthy,
that's who the Oilers should go get.
It would be tricky with the cap. I think
his cap hit's not horrible.
I'm curious.
I think he makes like 6. I mean, I think the Oilers were in on Binnington too, and Binnington makes 6. And Binnington's been very good this year.
He has. I mean, for a team like the Blues who aren't great
good at all. Not good at all.
I think if I'm New Jersey, I'd rather Gibson.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Binnington has that.
It'll be interesting to see what Fitzgerald does. I don't think he goes out and like overpays for a goalie, but the Devils definitely need to get Hughes back and kind of get back on track defensively, and just the goaltending needs to just be better.
Yeah,
it's not good.
This Metro division is going completely opposite of how I thought it would. I mean, listen,
Washington's in second place. Pittsburgh's in like 4th or 3rd.
Columbus, I thought, was going to have a back year, man.
No, dude, Good Branson has more points than Johnny Gaudreau.
It makes no sense to me. The Islanders are below 500.
Yeah, they suck.
They're junk.
Sorokin has just been abysmal in that.
Sorokin's been awful. Like uncharacteristically bad.
He has, dude, but he gets fucking peppered every single night.
Which is weird because that team, all they pride themselves on is defense. They're like, I'd rather watch paint dry than watch the Islanders play hockey offensively. That team is so fucking boring.
Philly's ahead of them right now, and listen, Philly's not far behind New Jersey at this point.
Philly's up 3-1 right now in Carolina.
So, this tonight they could pass. They could pass New Jersey.
New Jersey gets getting
Pittsburgh
tomorrow.
Huh?
Getting Carter Hart back for the Flyers is huge, and I think that
100%.
team doesn't get enough credit. I think because they don't have these big name guys like some of these other teams have. They don't have they got Konechny, they got Couturier, but those aren't they're not superstars. They're good.
Not moving the needle.
Superstars. Yeah, it's like, and everybody had Philly at the bottom of the power rankings, but I don't think that they're that bad of a team. They might look bad on paper, but like, let's look at a guy like Nick Seeler, who's been awesome defensively for that team. And it's just like you got these like almost like guys that people don't hear of that are just really just flying under the radar and playing awesome hockey for Philadelphia. I really think that they could be a dark horse bubble playoff team come late this season.
I love that take.
I love it too. If they can sustain it, heck yeah, I'm all for it. Dude, give me that rowdy crowd in the playoffs.
Two young guys I'm really excited about on Philly that have played really well. Bobby Brink, he's right up there.
Dude, he's fun to watch.
He's so good, dude. And Tyson Forster as well, who was pretty high pick for Philly a few years back. And, dude, listen, this team isn't as far away as you think. They've got a few draft picks. Matvei Michkov is going to probably be here, I'd say, next year or the year after.
I think it's like a couple of years. I don't know how that goes.
I think he had a 3-year contract in the KHL when he got drafted. So I don't think it's next year, but I think the year after he's NHL eligible.
He's going to light the world on fire.
Let's not forget that the year prior to that they drafted Cutter Gauthier, who was fucking ripping it up.
Oh my god, I forgot.
He's so good.
Him.
Ripping it up at BC right now.
I forgot about him, dude.
Dude, listen, this Philly team is not as far away as you think. They don't have a ton of bad contracts.
They got rid of most of them.
I love them bringing in a guy like Danny Briere, who's aware. He knows how these kind of things work.
He's doing what Philly needs to do, and that's rebuild.
Exactly. Well, this is the thing, man. He didn't walk into that big of a fucking disaster.
But it's like how many times have the Flyers just like neglected rebuilding and just trying to do the same shit over and over, and it just wasn't working.
I'm going. Yeah,
with Chuck Fletcher, it was every season.
Exactly. Like he would just do the same shit every year, and it just never worked. Like that Tony DeAngelo contract and trade, that was so dumb. And poor Briere had to eat half of it. It was just so dumb. It's just shit like that. It's why'd you go out and just Briere's doing it the right way. He's going ahead and rebuilding, and he's got these young guys playing well. Yeah. Dude, once Michkov comes over, dude, that team is gonna be
Michkov and Gauthier are gonna I forget which one of you said it, but they're going to light the world on fire.
Light the world on fire, dude.
Yeah, going down their prospect list, obviously they've got Michkov 1, Gauthier 2, Tyson Forster. He was drafted 23rd overall in 2020. He's already in the lineup. Bobby Brink, 34th overall in 2019. He's in the lineup. They just drafted last year from the London Knights, Oliver Bonk, Rad Bonk's son.
Right. Defenseman. I like that pick.
Dude, they're not as far away as you think. They're doing all the right things. Are they going to be a playoff team? Like Zach said, I could see them being a bubble playoff team, but I could also see them at some point kind of collapsing a little bit and getting back into that top 10 and especially in this draft coming up, if they're able to land another top 10 pick, it's only going to benefit them.
100%.
I think a big deal for the Flyers is Carter Hart playing up to what Carter Hart can do.
Yeah.
Because since they're they had that run in 2020 where if it wasn't for COVID they looked like a cup team.
Yeah.
And if Carter Hart can play like he did then and can consistently do that, that is a really big piece to Flyers' success going forward because Carter Hart is capable of being a top 10, borderline top 5 NHL goalie.
I agree.
Yeah. Well, listen, if that's all that you guys have, if there's anything, I'll kind of let you guys go around the horn. If there's anything else you guys want to bring up in this episode, is that all you guys got?
Just two things. They're doing the Quebec games. LA will have 2 preseason games at the Videotron Center in Quebec. They'll be playing the Boston Bruins and the Florida Panthers. And then just a team I want to just give a little bit of love to is the Dallas Stars. I feel like of all the teams that are really red hot in the entire league, I feel like they're not getting talked about enough. And that team is a wagon. And Matt Duchene has been arguably the best free agent signing of the summer. And him, Marchment, and Seguin as a line has been absolutely fire. So they deserve some love. I'll probably dive into them over the next week and bring a little bit more of some little nuggies to the table. But Dallas deserves to be talked about more than they are. You know, considering like all the other teams like Boston and Vegas and Vancouver, like Dallas deserves that love too. Like they are just as good as those teams, and they have a very deep lineup.
Yeah,
You know, just alongside with those guys.
Yeah, Ottinger's been awesome, and I know our boys, Chris and Dan Powers over at Empty Netters, are going to be happy to hear that. I know Duchene's their boy, so that's definitely
He's been great. He's been great. Like, and he had the great saucer pass to Seguin for the tying goal last night, and then he capped it off the game winner. I mean, just he's been great, and it's been great for Seguin because Seguin can't really drive his own line anymore. So having Duchene, who kind of can, that's been a godsend for Dallas, and that's lethal for them because they were a very top line heavy team where they relied on that top line for goals. Like last year, the top line had 52 goals, and the next closest line had 26, and that was their third line. So getting that extra boost of production is huge for a team that was already really good offensively.
Yeah, a clip that I found last night that we posted to the Drop the Mitts page. It was a goal by Rupe Hintz and a play,
so nasty.
A play that was started by Miro Heiskanen, who at this point in time I'm confident in saying that he's a top 3 defenseman. Top 3.
He's definitely top 5.
I'm confident in saying he's a top. I'd put him at 3 at this point. I encourage everyone to go watch it. I mean, dude, his edge work on the play to completely fake out every single defender, and then the finish by Rupe Hintz, fucking clap bomb. Unbelievable goal, dude. It was so nice. But yeah, Tommy, you're absolutely right. I don't think they get nearly enough love that they should. I think they're going to be a dangerous team coming out of the
West. They're almost running away with the Central at this point.
Yeah, and honestly, they're going to be really dangerous in that Western Conference. So yeah, that's honestly a good shout out for sure because yeah, they don't get anywhere near the credit they should. Zach, is that anything else you want to bring up?
No, I think I'm all set.
Well, hey buddy, I can't thank you enough for coming on this episode. You fucking killed it. Honestly, to have you two, a part of this now, it's honestly an honor and just so good to be able to talk puck with you boys. So
heck yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely love it.
Without further ado, we have an awesome interview. Every interview that we have is awesome. Being able to talk to these guys and get their stories, their upbringings, how they fell in love with the game of hockey, has been just such an honor and amazing experience. So, without further ado, we bring you the 27th overall pick in the 2023 NHL draft to the Colorado Avalanche. Current Oshawa Generals assistant captain, Calum Ritchie. Have a great night, guys. Welcome back to another episode of Drop the Mitts Hockey Podcast, brought to you in partnership with Primetime Productions. We have a great guest here, 27th overall pick in the 2023 NHL draft to the Colorado Avalanche, and current member of the Oshawa Generals, Cal Ritchie. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good, thanks. How are you?
I'm good, man. Can't complain. I understand that you're, rehabbing from shoulder surgery at the end of the season. How is the rehab going? You must be itching to get back out there with your teammates.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's been a long time, and it's coming along well, and I'm right on track with where the surgeon wants me. So, I just can't wait to get back, and all the trainers are putting in tons of work for me.
Yeah, dude, that's awesome, and it looks like you got a pretty good team coming back with you, and yeah, that's huge. And when are you anticipating on getting back?
I'm hoping anytime soon, just whenever the doctors can clear me. So
cool, man.
Not really in my hands at this point, but just whenever the doctors feel I'm ready, I'll be good to go.
Yeah, good shit, dude. So I kind of wanted to start it out, talking about your early days growing up playing hockey, kind of what got you into the game. So growing up and starting out, who would you credit as your biggest influence for your love of the game?
Definitely my dad. He played growing up, so he got me into it early, and then I have an older brother who played, obviously, so I was always kind of trying to follow in his footsteps and play hockey with him. So it was kind of great for me growing up to always kind of compete with my brother, and definitely is why I'm in the position I am today.
So as you were growing up, did you have a favorite player, that you followed? And even now, do you have a player that's in the league now that you kind of try to emulate your game after, and just kind of take little tidbits from in their game?
Yeah, for sure. I think like growing up, I always loved Sidney Crosby. Just like great two-way guy, and he's like a great person off the ice too. So I was always a huge Crosby fan, and then I like Jonathan Taves too. Good two-way game center. I think that's kind of the way I try to play hockey. So yeah, I kind of look at those two guys kind of growing up. But now, I mean, obviously at Colorado and at camp and all that, I was skating on the ice with like McKinnon and Rantanen and those guys. So obviously I try to take stuff from their game and try to put it into mine. So I mean, yeah, at this level, at this point in my career, I kind of just look at, I mean, whoever in the NHL and try to take their good habits and their best abilities and try to put it into my game.
Yeah, for sure, man. And you mentioned that growing up with an older brother, Ethan's in the Boston Bruins organization. Got a chance to interview him. Literally one of the nicest humans I got to talk to, man. And like, honestly, I was kind of like, we were just talking about it. I was kind of wandering around that locker room looking for someone, and he just again was so just open to answering questions and just so kind and generous. He talked about in that interview, you guys growing up and always shooting pucks in the garage together, mini hockey battles. What does it mean to you to have a brother who's also extremely talented, right? And what kind of mentorship has Ethan offered you both on and off the ice?
Yeah, so much. Like he's my best friend, and obviously growing up with him, being able to compete with him was huge. And I think the biggest year definitely was during COVID when we were just together working on our game at home in our basement and in our garage shooting pucks and all that. And I found my game really elevated from that year, just being able to train with him. And yeah, that was definitely huge for me having a brother to kind of lean on for support and all that throughout like my whole career. So yeah, it's obviously been great, and yeah, he's my best friend.
Yeah, and one of the questions I asked, I had to know who came out on top during those mini hockey battles, and I'm curious what your answer is. And you probably saw his answer on there that you're the more skilled one and he's the brute. Who usually came out on top in those battles?
Yeah, he'd come out on top. I gotta admit it, but yeah, no, I'd be trying to do some skill plays, and he'd just lay the body on me. Being 3 years older, he was a lot bigger and stronger than me, so it definitely helped me just in general. Just any sport we played, he'd definitely be pretty physical on me. So definitely.
I feel like he'd be that dude that just like someone tries to pull like a Michigan, he would just head down, just fucking destroy someone. But yeah, that's awesome, man. I always love seeing those, the stories about brothers coming into the league together and being able to grow up and kind of work with each other. And obviously you guys seem so close, so that's awesome to see. You always love seeing those kind of stories.
Yeah.
So kind of to pivot a little bit, you had an unbelievable performance at the Hlinka Gretzky Cup, which is a huge tournament. It's like the best of the best, and you get to represent your country. You had an incredible tournament, earning gold medal, most assists you had 6, and most points at 10. Talk to us about that tournament and what it meant to you to be able to represent your country and obviously win gold.
Yeah, it was an awesome experience. I mean, anytime you get the chance to represent your country at that level, it's unbelievable. And we had a great team, and I was really glad I was able to kind of contribute and help the team. And obviously winning gold was unreal, and definitely I think it's probably my greatest hockey moment. I think greatest accomplishment.
Yeah, that was my next question. Is this the number one moment throughout your hockey career so far? So that kind of answers my question. Dude, like that team I was going through the list, man. That team, like including yourself, like was loaded. Like what was it like playing with some of those guys? Obviously, they're some of those guys are, it's like yourself, super talented. What was it like playing with some of those, guys that are, got drafted super high?
Yeah, no, it was awesome. I mean, I love to play at that level, and competed against the best, and any chance you get to play with the top players in your age group, it's unreal, and to be able to kind of compare yourself to them and be on a team with them and see what it's like, to kind of compete with them and also try to win. So our team was really good, and it was a lot of fun to play with those guys.
So this will be your third year in the OHL with the Oshawa Generals. So far in 124 games, you have 43 goals, 61 assists, and 104 points. Talk to us about your time with the Oshawa Generals and what that organization has meant to you, throughout your young career.
Yeah, it's been awesome. I think kind of stepping into the league as a 16-year-old, moving away from home. You're obviously it's obviously a new environment, and they do a great job of kind of making you feel welcome. All the guys were great right away, and you kind of just get in there and try to make an impact right away. And I was lucky enough to have the opportunity to do that. And I think starting there, there's no better place to play in the OHL. So really enjoy it, and really kind of savor all the moments I can playing for the Generals.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. And kind of to go back to, big tournaments that you've played in, you got the opportunity to also play in the World Juniors, finishing bronze in that tournament, 3 goals, 6 assists, 9 points in 7 games. Again, what did it mean to represent, Canada in this tournament? You got to play with guys, other phenomenal players like yourself, Macklin Celebrini, Matthew Wood, Colby Barlow, Porter Martin. I mean, the name, the list goes on and on. What was it like, being able to play in that tournament, but now you're playing other countries' best players? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, it was awesome. I think, obviously playing, we were in playoffs with Oshawa, and we got eliminated, unfortunately, in the first round. But I was just really thankful to get that opportunity to play some more hockey, and my season wasn't just over. So it was definitely a great experience, and definitely learned a lot from it. And it was a lot of fun playing with those guys for sure. And like you said, competing against the best players in the world. So I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I kind of want to talk, pivot a little bit and talk about your draft experience. Obviously, you were drafted, 27th overall. You were in Nashville. Beforehand, like before the draft, when you had your interviews and everything, did you have any idea where you would possibly go? Like, did you always know you were going to go to Colorado? Were there any other teams like in play beforehand, or like did you have no idea where you were going?
Yeah, not really. I didn't have much of a clue, to be honest. But obviously talk to some teams more than others, and you kind of have a bit of an idea. But when it's obviously a moving process, and there's no really like science to it, I guess. You can kind of just wait and hear your name. So no, it was an unbelievable experience, and couldn't be happier and being picked by Colorado for sure.
I always like to ask, the guys that we have on here, like, did you have any bizarre pre-draft questions? Like, we've heard some hilarious ones, like throughout, even on like other podcasts too. You hear like on Chicklets or like any of those other pods that some of these questions that these GMs and representatives come up with are hilarious, and it's like I don't even know how I'd react in that situation, getting hearing something like that. Did you have any experiences like that?
I got one. Just they asked me what animal I am off the ice, and then what animal I am on the ice. Montreal asked me that question, and I kind of knew that was the question the teams asked, so I kind of had that prepared. But I think my answer was monkey for on the ice, because they're like smart, and I think that's one of my good traits as a player. I think the game well. And then off the ice, can't remember what I said. I might have said like a horse or something. They're reliable, and I don't know. I guess they're loyal and stuff like that.
I'm pretty sure Zach Benson told us that he said he was a golden retriever or something, like completely out of the like, dude. It's so funny. Like I said, like we've heard throughout the years, like I forgot who it was last year talking about about smoking pot or whatever, and I think it was Stevie Y actually who asked the question just out of left field. They're always hilarious to hear those stories to kind of like throw you off, but two good answers from you, like can't go wrong with those. So when you finally heard your name called in the first round pick, Colorado has such a rich hockey tradition, Stanley Cups, Hall of Famers across the board. did any of the guys first? I guess I want to ask you, what was that moment like? The moment you heard, you heard your name, your family's around you. Um, the time is here. Like, take me through that moment, what you were thinking, and what it was like to be, celebrate with your family.
Yeah, it was unbelievable, and yeah, just like right when you kind of hear your name called, I kind of just blacked out, to be honest.
Yeah.
I got up, hugged my family, and just thanked them for everything, and then went up on stage, did all the interviews and stuff, and honestly don't even really remember all that part. And then yeah, you get up and see your family in the box and meet everyone in the organization again. And yeah, that whole night was unbelievable, and definitely one of the best nights of my life.
Yeah, and again, we bring back the how close you and your brother are, and he even said too, it was the happiest moment of his life, being able to see you live out your dream, and you know, you're getting this opportunity, and it was so cool to hear that, man. Like, you always love seeing those stories, and um, yeah, it's awesome. So once you got drafted, obviously you have like a loaded Colorado team there, right? And did any of those guys reach out to you to kind of offer their congratulations, or tips or anything, just like
Yeah,
mentorship, any of those guys?
yeah, like McKinnon reached out, called me, like I called him the next day, and then Landeskog, Rantanen, Makar, Devon Taves, Andrew Cogliano. Yeah, so they were all super supportive, and you can tell like they have a really tight group there, and just really glad to be part of that organization. And obviously with my shoulder, my rehab over the summer, Cogliano was great with that, and he's from the Toronto area, so he knows some good therapists here. So he was able to set me up with a physiotherapist, so that was awesome for me. And they're really dialed in there, and they take the team really serious. So it's kind of cool to see that they care so much about a first round pick that's not going to play on the team for however long. But yeah, it's awesome for sure.
You love to hear stuff like that, man. Like, and obviously, Colorado is pretty well known to have such a good leadership group. Ton of great leaders on that team that even don't wear letters, right? Um, it's awesome to hear, and what kind of peace of mind does it give you, kind of knowing that that's what you're walking into? Just a team that has phenomenal leaders, guys that have been in the league, for such a long time and have been successful in the league at that. What kind of peace of mind does that give you? That that's what you're walking into.
Yeah, I think it's obviously great. I mean, my goal is obviously playing in the NHL and win a Stanley Cup, and there's no better place to learn and grow into that, being that player. And just really excited to kind of get in there and earn my spot.
Yeah, we were able to watch a lot of film on, your game and try to get to know you and how you play the game. But Elite Prospects has your hockey sense as your, defining quality. You mentioned that within the draft interviews that you have, you're smart on the ice, your hockey IQ is off the charts. For Avalanche fans, what kind of player are they getting in Cal Ritchie, and what are some areas also to kind of pivot the other way? What are some areas in your game that you'd really like to focus on improving?
Yeah, I think like for improving, I think obviously you need to be good at everything to play at that level in the NHL. So I mean every day I'm just trying to work on all aspects of my game, and you get stronger, faster, better shot, better skating, all that. So yeah, and I just think, yeah, as a player, like you said, I think I'm a smart player, and try to play a good two-way game, and I think it could generate offense as well. So um, yeah, I think obviously I'm just trying to grow into being a well-rounded player, and be able to help the team.
Kind of going back to development camp, talking about that, you got the opportunity to go, skate with these guys, some of the prospects and stuff. What was that experience like? Just that week long whole, what was your biggest takeaway from that week? Both on the ice, off the ice stuff, whatever. What was your biggest takeaway from that?
Um, yeah, I just think, I mean, how hard those guys work, how much time they put in, and I think a big thing I noticed when I was in Colorado is there's no egos. I mean, the training staff there, they spend so much time with me, and I mean, I'm just a 18-year-old kid, and they spent countless hours on me over the month that I was there, and helping me recover from injury, and then obviously getting on the ice with those guys, it was awesome, and kind of just seeing how much work it takes to play at that level. Yeah, there's always ways you can improve your game, and kind of love to be around that for sure.
Yeah, man. Well, again, that kind of wraps up, everything that, I can't thank you for taking the time to come on and drop the mitts. We wish you the best, as you continue rehabbing your injury. And we really hope to see you out on the ice soon, man. Miss watching you play, and honestly, we wish you the best, going forward.
Thank you. I really appreciate it.
Awesome, man. Thank you. Take care.
Yeah, take care. Thank you.